So before we kick things off, I've got something for everyone here. I've got something for you all, okay? I've always got a gift, all right? So, let me just check the dates. If someone can tell me the 25th of August, that should be a Tuesday, which I believe is next week. Is that right? The 25th is Tuesday. I'm going to be running a special webinar. This webinar is going to be focusing on the recession as it is right now, how we can navigate through that, how we can focus on the right strategies that's working today in the current economic climate, and what I see going to be happening throughout the rest of this year, get into 2021, but more importantly, how we can make sure that we can build a successful and profitable property business through this. So on Tuesday, August the 25th, so next Tuesday at 7 p.m, I'm going to be doing a webinar. Now this webinar is going to be done on Zoom. All right, so I'm going to encourage you guys to take this link down. Now, it's by application only. All right, so you guys are serious anyway, for the fact is that you're on my Facebook Live, you're tuning in, you're listening. There's a lot of regular listeners here, which is good. It's good to see regular faces popping on. The more you guys come on and interact with me, the more I can remember you guys as well, which is always good. So with this in mind, next Tuesday's webinar is application only. So what do I mean by that? I'm going to give you the link in a moment. And then if you go to the link, you can register for the webinar, but there's maybe 5 or 6 questions where we're going to ask you to find out a little bit more about you. And then, providing it's not one word answers, the team will review the questions and responses, and then we approve you to get access to the webinar. The webinar is limited to 100 people. That's it. So this is going to be probably about a 2.5 to 3 hour training. Okay, so it's free to attend. It's a free webinar. It's not going to cost you any money. There's an application process. So from that point of view, I would take that if you had the opportunity and grab that to get on. All right, so schedule some time in. It's going to kick off at 7 p.m. Tuesday next week. I won't be doing a Facebook Live next Thursday. Why? Because I've got my platinum event next week. So I've got my platinum clients that are going to be coming up and spending Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with us. So I won't be on Thursday night next week. So in replace of that, and so we've not got that next Thursday night's Facebook Live, I'm going to be streaming this live webinar on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. So let me just quickly type in the link here so you can go to the page. It is Property jumpstartwebinar.com. There we go. I've just literally put it in the comments. It's propertyjumpstartwebinar.com. So if you go to www.propertyjumpstartwebinar.com, write that down. Take a note of that, because again, we'll probably end up getting, I don't know how many people's registered already, but we'll likely get, a few hundred people applying for it, and we're only going to be selecting 100 people. So my recommendation would be is grab that link, go and apply for it, and then the team will be pre-approving people, and I'll see you on that webinar next Tuesday. So let's get on with tonight's content though. So again, the link for everyone here is propertyjumpstartwebinar.com, kicking off Tuesday at 7 p.m. next week. So let's talk about how to, grow while others are contracting right now during the recession. Now, one thing just to bring up, which you may or may not be aware of, is this month here, Rightmove have come out and basically released some stats to show that we are, it's been the highest all-time records of house sales in the 1 month. It's something like a crazy figure. I can't even remember the figure, but it was a crazy number. So it just shows you that everything that I've been talking about and what I've been saying, this whole idea of pent-up demand, in terms of coming out of lockdown, there's been lots of transactions that were held up during the lockdown period. I had a number of transactions that were held up as well. And when we come out of COVID-19 and everything's happening, and then, starting to come out of lockdown and that phased approach, a lot more transactions were starting to happen and take place. Lenders started to, relax their loan to values and some of their interest rates and all that stuff as well. I mean, it's very competitive right now because interest rates are at an all-time low. So with that in mind, for those who, there's a lot of great mortgage opportunities out there. Sure, you might need to put down a little bit more of a deposit, in terms of residential and so forth, but the rates are so low right now, it's a great thing if you're looking to buy, especially your own home. So there's so many transactions happening this month alone, and it's just crazy to see that's happening, right? Because it was, I could have, predicted this, which I did. I've been saying it for ages, and long may that last over the number of months of the rest of this year. But we're going to see ourselves quite quickly coming back out of this recession. So it's going to be short-lived. But if you watched my Facebook Live last week, what I was talking about is what we really need to be aware of is that we will be definitely going back into a recession at some point next year. At the moment, my prediction will be towards the end of 2021, get into 2022. Now, that could be brought forward if we end up in another lockdown. So let's see what happens on that front. But I reckon that we're already going to see, Q3 having growth. No question. Q4, historically, out of all the quarters of a year, Q4 tends to be the strongest. Why? Because there's a lot more spending happening during the Christmas period and so forth, a lot more shopping happening. So with that in mind, let's see if that continues. Sure, there's unemployment. There's a lot of people, financially in financial difficulties and struggles and so forth. But I still think the majority there will still continue to spend. Why do I think that? Because all you need to do is look at Amazon, a lot of online, businesses. Take, for example, Gymshark. Gymshark was a young guy who literally created that brand, created his own sportswear because he didn't like any other sportswear he could find. And it's now just been given £1 billion valuation. And his sales online were up like 45%. So it just shows you online sales went through the roof during lockdown. It's been crazy how many sales were getting done. I know we had literally an Amazon delivery almost every day. Literally we're just constantly buying stuff online and we're still getting delivered. So with this in mind here, there's still going to be a lot more spending, I believe, over Christmas. Even in shops and so forth, because we get back out. But I reckon there's still going to be a lot of online spending as well. So, short-lived recession, but we really need to prepare for what's coming. So that leads me on to the topic of how can we grow when others are contracting. So I'm going to just draw a little graph, right, just to show you something here. So basically, you've got this line here. So hopefully you guys can see this. So you've got a line here. So most people, when they start a business, I'm talking about most small businesses, right? SMEs, small, medium enterprises, small businesses, especially businesses in their first 5 years, especially startups, their growth tends to be like this. It tends to go like this here, right? Now, that's just typical growth. That's kind of what everybody is doing, right? It's just small incremental growth happening year on year, maybe of 5 or 10% growth per annum. Now, what we want to make sure is that we get quantum leaps. We make big leaps and big jumps ahead. So what the earth am I talking about? So normally what happens when someone starts their business, this could be in anything. This could be in absolutely anything. I'm specifically talking about property right now. So let's say that you are brand new to property. Like literally brand new to property. You haven't done anything property before and you just get started in your property journey. So at the beginning of something, you normally see a little bit of spike in activity because you're excited. You start to see the potential and what you could actually do. There's excitement there. There's a bit of momentum there. You get out and doing stuff. Sometimes you don't know if you're even doing the right stuff. You're just doing stuff. So what tends to happen at the beginning, there's a spike. There's a spike in activity, right? There's a spike. Best analogy I can give is at the end of the year, people set a New Year's resolution, don't they? And a lot of people's New Year's resolution is, right, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life. And have that spike at the beginning of the year. Why? Because they get a gym membership, they might get a personal trainer, they go and buy protein shakes and loads of green stuff for the fridge, veg and fruit, and get rid of all the junk food, and they get new gym gear. So they're all motivated, fired up for it. And then they go out and do, a workout and everything else, and they're really pushing themselves for like 3 days, a week, 2 weeks at most. At the end of January, they're regretting getting that gym membership. And what happens when you get a spike, there comes a point where you take a small dip. You take a small dip. So it looks like you're actually contracting. It looks like you're actually going back. It looks like you're losing, if you want to put it here. It looks like you're no longer achieving what you're doing. Now, what happens in business and what happens in life, what tends to happen is that we love the highs, but we can't handle the lows. But notice what happens. We haven't gone back to baseline. But most people, once they hit the first failure, once they hit the first obstacle, once they hit the first problem, the first challenge, they tend to contract, and most people will go back to baseline. That's why people are in this vicious circle that goes round and round and round and round all the time. I know myself from a fitness point of view, it's a bit of a yo-yo. I'm the extremist. Like, I go all in with certain things. My fitness, I've always been in decent shape, good shape, you could say. But I always go in these bursts, and I feel myself as if I'm plateauing. And I'm like, what's happening? I'm plateauing. But it's during this time here where you're starting to plateau, you're starting to go back down. You need to become aware and go, where can I take my next spike? Where can I make sure that I catch myself so I don't go back down to baseline? I catch myself and force myself to get on level playing field, and then be able to take another spike. How do I get another spike? So I'm not just doing this here and just gradually growing over the long term, which could represent 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years. I'm having quantum leaps. I really want to, you need to understand that every time you make a quantum leap, every time you make a big push, there's going to be this period of a dip again. But notice that you never go back to baseline if you become aware. And then what happens, if this keeps on going, trust my pen to run out, so let's just grab another pen from here. My Paul McFadden Wealth pen, do you like that bad boy? Let's see if it works first. So we then go, oh, it's one of those fancy ones. And then we start doing another lift. So it goes like this every time we make these spikes. And if you run a line through that, you notice that you're so further ahead than those that are just coasting along. Now see this line here? I can show you lots of people. I can show you hundreds of people who are just coasting. They're just coasting along. And here's the thing. I don't do coasting. When we teach with our property proteges, when I give business consulting, I don't teach people to coast. There's hundreds of property investors out there just growing at this level. And, a 5 or 10% growth every year, if they're lucky. Like everybody could teach you how to do that. I mean, that's not rocket science. That's just going out and doing some stuff. But what I teach is how you can have quantum leaps. And the only way you're going to get these quantum leaps going forward is if, ready for this? If you get outside of your comfort zone. Because notice, every single lift you get comes from doing something that you have not normally used to doing. Think about this for a moment. If you look at the last 5 years, if we take a moment to review our last week, our last month, our last year, our last 5 years, our patterns tell us something about our habits. It tells us something about our results. It also tells us what our patterns and what our results are likely going to be in the month ahead, the year ahead, and 5 years ahead. Why? Because we're creatures of habit. We keep on doing the same stuff. So if you keep on doing the same stuff over and over again, you'll get the same growth pattern that you're used to. So we need to sit there and think about, okay, how can we get uncomfortable? How can we do some things that we're not normally used to doing? How can we stop coasting along, having this element of, it's all right, I'm just getting by, I'm doing okay, I'm having a little bit of growth. And the problem is we fall into a comparison trap where we start to compare ourselves with our peers. And that's a big fucking mistake. Big mistake. When you start comparing yourself to your peers, that's it, game over. Now you've lowered your levels down to, like, best example I can give you. Like if you play football or any type of sports, right? So when I grew up and as a young kid growing up, I used to go and play football with my uncle. And there was a couple of my uncles there, and it was all their friends. So it was all older guys, and I'm like, 14, 15, and I was a good player growing up, right? So my uncles weren't so good, and some of them brought their sons and stuff, and they weren't so great. So I was the best player. I was running riot around everybody, skinning everybody, scoring the goals, always the best player every single week. But then I get signed up for a football team. I get signed up for St Johnstone Boys Club, and I get signed for them, and I realised that, wait a wee minute, I thought I was the player. I thought I could run rings round everybody. I thought I was the guy who's scoring all the goals, but I was literally comparing myself against not good players, right? There's maybe one or two that were all right, but I was literally surrounded with a group of people where my skill set was much higher, but then when I get put into a whole bunch of boys who were all pretty skilled and really good players, I was out my depth. I was out my comfort zone. I was forced to grow. I was forced to up my game. I realised that for so long, for many years playing with my uncles and stuff, that I was held back. Imagine that you're just going along, surrounding yourself with different advisors, different friends, different mates, and these are all good people. I'm not saying anything bad about anyone. They're all just good people. Just your surroundings, your social circle, the people that you've got, the people you ask for advice to. You get comfortable with those people around you, and comfort's the killer of growth. So you're literally got all these people around you, and if you've been around them for so long, and if they're not growing at a rapid pace, expanding, like literally they're not taking quantum leaps, then the 99.9% of the time, you're having the same level of growth as them, which will be incremental, tiny, small, like very little growth at all, because who you're surrounded with. We become like them. So the same analogy that for many years I'm playing football with you guys getting this? I hope that you're getting this. If you are, just comment and let me know if this is making sense. Just say yes, I'm getting it, or whatever. Just to make sure that I'm on the right track here, because if you do get this is going to change everything for you. I'm playing football as a young kid, and what I realised that when I went to play with the boys club, and I was forced into growing to become a better player, to be more disciplined, to train harder and everything else, and ultimately I never made it. And I used to look back and turn around and go, why didn't I make it? I played right up to get a couple of professional games for Airdrie at the age of 19 before, getting let go, and that was it. But with this in mind, with everything that I'm saying there, like I literally lost many years of growth because I played at such a lower level. I played at my peers' level. I never put myself in a situation that forced me to become a better player. So I want you to look at, how can you be a better business person? How can you be, better in your health and wellness, and in your, whatever area you're looking to grow in? The answer is to make these quantum leaps is to do things that are uncomfortable. Level up your peer group. Get people around you that think on a whole different level, that make you think that you're playing it small, that demand you to think bigger, that want to push you ahead, who have got a growth mentality. Something I always say is that, I always say this to my prodigies. I always say this to my platinum members who I spend a lot of close time with as well, and I can't wait to see them all next week. It will be a great get together. It's been a while with everything that's going on. But I always say to them is that if you ever, get to a point, I always talk about that you want to find a mentor, find someone and then pass them up. That was a Arnold Schwarzenegger quote. Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, you want to find a mentor and dedicate yourself to work so hard, push yourself, and then pass them up. And the funny thing is, and what I always say to the platinum members is that, listen, I've got a growth mentality. I am pushing hard. I am still got so much more to go. I'm involved in bigger things that I never even thought I was going to be involved in only a year ago. And I'm pushing myself and I'm growing in all areas of my life. I'm wise enough to think, get grey hairs. I'm still wise enough to know that I don't know it all, and that's why I'm always being aggressive to grow and push and never settling. And surrounding myself with people who demand me to grow, who are so further ahead in the game. Like I have advisors around me who are all, 8-figure earners, £10 million plus, regular conversations with people who are extremely wealthy, not just financially, but they're ahead in other areas of my life, with the fitness, with how I want to be as a father, with the different courses and stuff that we do there, everything. I'm always looking for who's at the top of their game. Just like, can't wait for my jiu-jitsu school opening back up again at the end of the month. Just like I go and get personal training with the jiu-jitsu instructor because he's skilled, he's so far ahead of the game. I don't want to just sit and continue rolling with white belts, although that's part and parcel of the game. I've got to. There's no ego, but again, I'm quite good. So most white belts at the club, I'm giving them, more than, and I'm tapping them out and doing some things and whatever. But I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go to the classes where I'm in with the blue belts and the purple belts, where I'm getting beat every single fucking time. Just getting smashed about. They're sitting there just going, oh, come here, young Jedi, let me show you the way. But then I'm improving, I'm leveling up, I'm getting outside my comfort zone. So when we come back to business, when we come back to property, I'm specifically going to tell you some things that's going to help you really take those quantum leaps. The first quantum leap that you're going to make, the first one, is to get fucking started. First and foremost, how can you possibly even take any form of quantum leap or any form of growth if you're not even in the game yet? So if you're sitting on the sidelines, I don't know why the fuck you watch my videos. I don't, let me just be brutally honest here. Now, I get that some people might be watching this for the first time and they're like, who is this crazy guy just, giving us a hard time? I get it. So if you're just watching this for the first time, or you've just found me over the last couple of weeks or whatever, then hey, hopefully you get to like my approach on things. But if you've been watching my stuff forever and you haven't even started, you've not even got yourself on the field, you haven't taken the first step, then I can't help you, all right? You've got to get in the game, and you get in the game by getting started, and then you get the first quantum leap. There's all the things at the beginning that stop people from getting started. Fear, what if I do something wrong? And, what if I don't have the money? What if I don't know the right strategies? What if I've got bad credit? Well, first and foremost, you've got to grab a copy of my book, Property Success Mindset, which you can get on Amazon. Go to propertysuccessmindset.com. One of the chapters in there alone is all about, what stops you. And that there, if you read that chapter, that'll stop and handle everything that you think that's going to hold you back. It will just debunk all those different things to really get you to see that you can get started regardless to your current circumstance and situation. Because you can no longer operate thinking about the past. The past is the fucking past. Everything that's happened up until this moment is done. Stop holding on to your baggage. To put this simple and straight, you want that first little growth pattern, you want that first leap. You can have reasons or results. The reasons why you should do something, the reasons why you shouldn't do something. You can have reasons why you haven't got started, why you haven't done anything, or you can get results by actually getting started and moving. So, from that point of view, get started. Now, if you're in the game already, if you're in the game and you've been playing this game of property, the next leap that you're going to take from here, and again, some people might go through this a little bit, but the next leap you're going to take is that when you start turning your business, when you start treating your business like a proper business, all right? Now, if you've only got 5 or 10 hours to put into your property business per week because you're not full-time in property, if you've only got 5 or 10 hours, it's important that you focus on the right things. Most people are doing everything and anything and they're pulled off in all sorts of different directions, shiny object syndrome, they can't focus for 1 freaking second, and they've got limited time as it is because they're in full-time employment or they've got their own business. And if that's the case, how are you going to make best use of your time? So the only way to do that is to maybe plan your week ahead. And it's not how many hours you put in, it's what you put into the hours. So make sure you're doing the right things. That's going to make a big difference. What's going to make the next leap here is when you decide to go full-time in property, whether that's your goal or not. But it's good to be in a situation where your income has been replaced from your activity through property with income coming in, whether that is your buy-to-let income, whether that is your property development income by doing buy-to-flips, whether that's property deal trading. Property deal trading is the quickest way to start getting cash flow into your business. The average our approach students make per property deal trades is £7,500. So you just need to be doing one of those every other month. This is deals that you don't want yourself anyway. You're trading those deals on, making thousands of pounds. And with this in mind, that is the quickest way for you to go full-time in property. So once you go full-time in property, you no longer have 5 or 10 hours a week. You have what? 40 hours, 50 hours, 60. It's your own business. You put more time and effort and energy into it, especially when you start to see the rewards, as in the money coming in. You want to know how to take the next leap again. Well, the next leap is that you start looking at employing staff. You start outsourcing things. You start bringing in key people. You start spending more money on your marketing. And then again, you transition into the next phase where you're going to get another leap. And when you're going to get another leap is when you transition from working in your business to working on your business. And that might take you a few years. But the point is, as you're going through this growth trajectory, going through situations that's forcing you to step outside your comfort zone, another way to get another huge quantum leap is basically what I've been saying here, and surround yourself with other people who are doing things, who are further down the path that you want to travel, who demand you to grow, that push you. And that's why I love our Property Protege tribe, because every single week we've got people in there sharing their wins. I post some of these wins, on my my Facebook pages, LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. I don't post them all. A lot of people want to keep their stuff private, and that's perfectly fine. But there's probably 10 to 15 wins every single week getting posted inside the group. Or Wednesday night Zoom calls, people talking about what deals are working on, what's happening, and you're around it. You're surrounded around that. If you're surrounded around other people who are pushing forward and growing and doing deals, that's going to force you to up your game. It's going to force you to grow. It's going to force you to step out your comfort zone. You can't wait to try and do these things yourself. Yesterday, I had a leg session to do. So I'm on a strength training program with my personal trainer. And I did not want to do my leg workout yesterday. I just did not want to do it. Didn't want to do it. Every second of it, I was fucking hating. And the only reason I done it is because I got a message from my personal trainer, my online trainer, a friend of mine, basically said, have you done that workout? And I knew that I'm going to check in with him every Saturday morning about what my workouts is, what I've been doing, that I wouldn't have done the workout if he never checked in, and he would know about it on Saturday. Because it's always easy to cheat yourself. It was easy for me yesterday to just not do the workout because I didn't feel like it. I had a busy day. I was in the office all day yesterday recording new content, putting a lot of stuff in there. You know, I was dealing with a lot of things, a couple of our developments and a lot of conference calls. It was a full-on day mentally, and I had to get home and I had to physically do a legs workout, which I did not want to fucking do. It's legs after all. And his little message, and I'm like, shit, don't feel like doing it. Hating every single second of it, but I still got it done. And the only reason I got that done is I had someone watching over me, holding me accountable. And ultimately, if I want the results, I've got to do the work. But it's easy for yourself, for me included, if we're not surrounded with the right people that are demanding growth and demanding you to be the best possible version you can be, then it's quite easy for you just to have a slow growth and not seeing any quantum leaps. I mean, if you want to be comfortable, then accept whatever it is, and that might be perfectly fine for you. You know, that might be perfectly fine. There's no shame in being comfortable and just coasting through life. But with everything that's coming through 2021 going into 2022, you've got no fucking excuses if you get shown up. You've got to take what's happened through this lockdown and COVID-19 seriously and realise it's a wake-up call that we cannot contract and just coast. We've got to do things that are uncomfortable right now. So we've got a new level of comfort through what's coming. Because even those times when I feel comfortable, and when I feel comfortable, I know it's time to force some extra growth. So, my friends, we all know what we need to do. We need to stretch our comfort zones. We need to push ourselves. We need to take that step when we might not know what step to take and just move things forward. And if you want that support and help in your journey going forward and property specific, then I've got so much content that I've got out there. I've got 2 books, I've got a YouTube channel, I've got God knows how many hours of content online. I do regular Facebook Live groups and all this kind of stuff. I've got a webinar next week, but more importantly, we have our Property Protege program, which helps people on their journey, that supports you in everything else. If that's of interest, go to propertyprotege.com and check that out. If you're looking to get started or accelerate an existing property business and getting some of these quantum leaps where you're moving forward, not coasting, but you're taking those leaps, reach the fuck out and let's get going.